Hey, fishy people. Today we are going to talk about owning and taking care of a betta fish. Betta fish are one of the best beginner fish and are extremely hardy. They come in many types and each one has its own specific needs. For example, some betta fish are better swimmers than others, but they all need at least a 5 to 10 gallon tank.
It's a 10-gallon tank. You can get away with a 5-gallon tank if it's like a half moon, delta, or any other longfin betta that doesn't swim as much. Bettas like assorted bettas with shorter tails and koi bettas, which are much more active and swim much faster, you need at least a 10-gallon planted aquarium for them to be happy. Because the reason why this is because when the bettas have longer tails, they were genetically bred for it, selective breeding. So what it does is it slows them down. In fact, a lot of like half moons and a lot of big bettas with long tails will actually try to bite their tails off because it drags them down so much. In this image here, you see a betta in a cup. This is very bad. You should never keep your betta in a cup unless it's just for a tiny bit. They should never live there permanently. Bettas also need a lid. Bettas are really good jumpers. There's nothing worse than coming home to your house one day and see your betta dead on the floor just because you forgot to put on a lid. Having a lid is extremely essential for a betta. Additionally, bettas need filtration. I recommend a sponge filter because it has the gentlest flow and the sponge can house a lot of beneficial bacteria. Whenever you're washing a sponge filter, make sure you use old cycled tank water because if you do it in regular tap water, the chlorine will kill all your beneficial bacteria. Another thing people don't tell you is when you're getting a sponge filter, you also need to buy an air pump. You can't just buy a sponge filter unless it's all in one kit. If you don't want a sponge filter, you can also do a hang on the back filter, but try to get one with flow adjustments and maybe put a sponge in front so the flow isn't as much. You also need a heater. Bettas are a tropical fish that require 78 to 80 degrees weather. You, Here are some various types of heating. You typically want 3 to 5 watts per gallon of fish tank. If it's like a hotter room, then you can do 3. If it's really cold, then I recommend doing 5, maybe 6. You also need gravel. Gravel is very important because gravel is where beneficial bacteria can flourish. And additionally, if you have like soil, I recommend the Betta stratum from Fluval. The gravel, when you put it on top of the soil, it keeps all the nutrients inside the soil, allowing your plants to flourish. This fluval gravel looks really cool, and if you combine it with other gravels and small rocks and maybe driftwood, it looks really nice. This is a great tank. JK, you should never ever have a tank like this. It looks horrible. There's no real plants. The tank is far too small for any fish to live in there, let alone 2 fish. These are some live plants you do. I strongly recommend live plants over fake plants. This is a Anubias on the left side and a Java fern on the right side. Anubias you can put direct super glue or you can put it in the you can super glue it. Java fern you can super glue it to a rock or driftwood or you can just put it in the crevice. I usually put it in the crevice and super glue, but never put a Java fern inside the substrate. It will immediately die. It won't immediately die, but it's just not good for the plant. You should also get an Amazon sword. Amazon swords are great beginner fish. You put them directly into the substrate along with some root tabs and maybe root fertilizer for nutrients. The one on the right side is Java moss. Java moss is a great moss for hiding spots for your fish. You also want to add some fertilizer and CO2. If your tank is too small, you don't want to invest in a big CO2 tank. You could also add CO2 tablets, or you could DO buy your own baking soda and vinegar CO2 setup. Here's Sechin Prime. Sechin Prime is the best water conditioner on the market. Even though bigger water conditioners may cost more money, they aren't as concentrated as Sechin Prime. I strongly recommend. Here's a betta in a bag. I know you may be thinking, oh no, why do you have a betta in your bag? The reason you have this is you want to acclimate it. First, you want to float the bag in the tank for 10 to 15 minutes to get the water temperature correct. And after that, you're going to slowly drip acclimate your fish so the water parameters are almost identical to the tank. If you do not do this, your betta can go into shock. And when it goes into shock, it could cause like potential problems and it can even kill it. Here's some driftwood. Driftwood is a beautiful and great centerpiece. You can glue plants to it. You can fish use it as hiding spots. It's one of my favorite things about freshwater aquariums. Here is some food for your betta. This is Fluval Betta bug bites. This is what I use for my tank. I additionally sometimes do bloodworms or brine shrimp as a treat, but not every day. You should do bug bites or another pellet food every day. Here's a siphon. You use siphon for cleaning. This is a diagram of how the siphon works. The siphon basically works by forming a vacuum, and what it does is when you suck the air out of it, the air particles escape, forming a vacuum, and then what the water does is the water wants to equalize the force, so it fills in, forming and pours out, forming a vacuum. And when you siphon, you want to siphon like lower toward the tank, so you suck up all the fish poop, but you don't want to suck up any gravel. There's many types of siphons. Some you suck the end of it, others you pump, others you squish, or you can also start a sucking one by like putting your thumb off, thumb off, thumb on, thumb off, but it's a bit hard. But when you do a water change, a lot of people do 30% every Sunday, but I recommend just testing your water and doing a water change whenever needed. If your water is too clean and your water is constantly perfect, it can actually be bad for your fish. Okay, thank you for watching. Bye.